Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Top 10. I'm very excited for this episode. This is the first one where I'm actually doing it with all friends of mine, people that I know. So we have Gannon joining us. He is a musical brother of mine. We've played together for years and years and years in Mid-Atlantic Tidal and some other groups. We have Jerome Burns, who I'm sure a lot of you Meshuggah fans are aware of him. He's the crazy guy that plays the Frederick Thorndahl solos on the trumpet, which is just mind-blowing. Super happy to have him. And we have an amazing bass player named Bryan Garcia. I've done some touring with him. Me and Gannon have had the privilege of touring with his amazing prog rock band, Fall of the Albatross. We did a little tour down south a few years back. And I will include a link for them in the description if you guys want to check them out. They're a super awesome band. And just super excited to do this. Super happy to have you guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Yep, stoked.
Yes.
So we are going to be doing the impossible task of ranking our top 10 Meshuggah songs. So this was quite the task. But we went through. We each made a list of 10. We're going to start with number 10. We'll go through each of us. Tell you which song we picked, why we picked it, get into a little dialogue, and work our way all the way down to number 1 and see what songs we mutually agree on, which ones we differ on, and that's pretty much it. So we're going to get started with Gannon. So set us off, Gannon. What's your number 10?
All right. So, my list, I would say the ranking of like 10 to 1, especially as the list goes down, it gets really narrow. So, and like you've been saying, the list changes every day. So at this moment in time, my number 10 is Closed Eye Visuals. It's so good. I love that Holdsworthian solo that happens, that the clean part that happens right after that. And it's a fun one to like kind of count through, because it's, like so many Meshuggah songs, you can't quite wrap your mind around the time signature and like just the phrasing of it, and then you realize it's all in 4. And, so that's my number 10 right there.
It's such a good one.
It's just so good. Yeah, and we've all had that moment before where we're trying to figure out the meter, and then something clicks, and you're like, oh wow, it's you start nodding your head and you get a feel for it. And I mean, that's what I love about them, though. I mean, there's still songs to this day where I have no idea what's going on, and people will be like, yeah, it's just in 4. It's like, okay, well, show me, point it out, show me how to do it.
Show me before.
As I was doing this, I was kind of like diving in, trying to just count as minuscule as possible and try and magnify to like, okay, this is how it's in 4. And like, you get some kind of cool patterns when you do that, but at the same time, trying to listen to it all, like count it at the micro level while listening at the macro is just nuts. It's just like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. I feel like I'm listening to quantum physics sometimes. Like I'm just listening to how atoms move.
And it's crazy when they talk about it, it's not complex for them really at all. They almost have this attitude like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. You're making this way more complicated than it is. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, that's what Tomas said.
Right,
I saw an interview with Tomas, and he was like talking about the writing process, and he's like, a lot of people like to try to do all these crazy odd meters and crazy rhythms and stuff like that, and we don't do anything like that. I'm like, okay. Well, I mean, technically you're right when it comes to the odd meters, but rhythmically, I mean, I think they're on a completely different level. I mean, I don't know any other metal band that has some of those grooves that they do.
Request. I've been looking for 4 on like such a different level. It's just nuts. Yeah. It's like they perceive that normal 4/4 groove on such a high point.
Oh yeah. There's a Devin Townsend album called Deconstruction, and there's a song on that called Planet of the Apes, and one of the lyrics in that is, now we all have lots of bands who influence us, but still we all rip off Meshuggah.
Good point.
Yeah, I mean, all modern metal bands like have taken something from them.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Yeah, I feel like every metal band I listen to, there's always these moments where I'm like, oh, there's the Meshuggah part, like, especially like Animals as Leaders. Like, I didn't really think of that before, and then I saw an interview with Tosin Abasi, and he was like, I could live on an entire musical diet of just Meshuggah. And then I started thinking about Meshuggah more as I was listening to them. And there are certain parts where you're just like, oh, there's the Meshuggah influence, you know?
Mhm. Oh, absolutely.
I got that a lot when listening to Periphery, especially like the old like P1 first
Oh,
record,
definitely.
like the EPs, like, and then going back and listening to Misha talk about it in interviews, and he's like, yeah, Meshuggah was like a huge influence. It's like, yeah, I can 100% hear it, but it's super cool because he just took it and still made it his own with like this really neat melodic twist. Fantastic.
Yeah, hell yeah.
There's this one band, like, what is it, Coronal? I don't know how to pronounce it, but I mean, I gotta say that their sound is almost a complete replica of Meshuggah. Like, if you listen to it, you would almost think it's because like the vocals are so similar, and you can tell they're trying to emulate that so much. It's almost like, oh, okay, well, that's Meshuggah. Let them be them. Who are you?
Do you know how to spell that?
Yeah. Let me just double check, make sure it's right.
Yeah, I looked it up. All I got was Corona.
No. Oh no.
Yeah, I'm sure if you try and look up Corona now, it might be a bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Corona had it was hugely influenced by Meshuggah. COVID-19 over 4.
Oh my God.
Let's see. It's a Coronal, Koronal. Their music's pretty dope.
That's a cool name. Yeah, look, they have a cool looking picture on Spotify.
Yeah, and they have.
Cool, I will check them out.
Yeah, if you check out their video for their song "Usurper," it's got a very Tool-like quality. That like really creepy claymation, stop motion.
There's the first band for all of us to check out.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hey.
All right, my number 10. I'm gonna go with Future Breed Machine. I really just love the vibe. I think it's a super powerful song to open up Destroy, Erase, Improve. And I really like that. I think it's a nice blend of kind of like the pre-Chaosphere Meshuggah, where it's kind of more of a thrash metal kind of vibe, but it still has some of those cool like polyrhythmic things that are kind of going to become more and more apparent as their discography goes on. So I really like it in that extent. And it's probably my favorite of the early Meshuggah albums. That's probably my favorite song.
That was also in my sort of March Madness chart for number 10 as well. Just because that intro is just like unmistakable. As soon as you hear those sirens, like it's just immediate. And it's such a crushing first like track on any album. Yeah. That it was just like literally only because of its position on the album I was thinking about making it my top 10. But I actually chose something else from Destroy Erase.
Yeah, it is like the perfect opening track, though. I would say the same thing. I think the placement in the album is a big part of what I like about it, too, because it just comes in so hard. It's such a great way to open the album.
Meshuggah kills it with all of their openers. It's just, like, when I think about the first track on every album, it's just bang.
I've got a couple first tracks on here. Like, my list actually has, like, I think, like 2 or 3 first tracks.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty funny. They're all really good.
They're incredible.
Yeah.
They also just find that they have really strong. They also usually save the longer songs for like the last track too.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Yeah, hell yeah, sweet. All right, Jerome, what's your number 10?
For number 10, I went with "I Am Colossus," another intro track.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
For that one, it's back in 2016. I did a powerlifting competition because I'm really into lifting. And that was every leg session I would start with this album, and just the pacing of it, like whenever I hear it, it just gets me in that mindset, and I just feel like this huge colossus, like, let's do this.
Yeah, when the last time prior to this podcast, the last time that I re-listened to all of the Meshuggah albums, I did it when I was going to the gym, because it's like the perfect workout music. It just gets me so pumped. I could totally see that for powerlifting.
It's also a good gym track. Like that's always what I think of when I listen to it. Like, there was a point in time when I was using that song as a coffee substitute. Like,
yeah,
just like,
absolutely.
I'd be on my way to school or work, and I just pop that in, like, I didn't get my coffee this morning, and then you just like that just like first intro is nuts. Yeah. And there's actually so I work.
Good sound.
Yeah. Exactly, the vocals that scream, dude. Oh god, it's so good. I work by Hudson Yards now, and they have a Soul Cycle class that they give outside. And they have a Bluetooth speaker, and they play music for all the cyclists to ride to. And I just want to play that song so bad on the Bluetooth speaker.
We should start that Sugar Cycle.
Literally, Sugar Cycle. That'd be incredible.
I think it would be too intense.
That's the
People
point,
fall
though.
off their bikes.
No, but their leg muscles at the end would be so cut and defined.
Everyone would
It's intense.
What's that thing David Goggins got? Rhabdomyolysis? When it's just like you overwork your muscles to the point when it just releases toxins.
Oh my god.
That's what would happen.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a song to break limits for sure.
Hell yeah. We were saying before that me and Gannon were talking before the podcast. I never realized that the album is not called Colossus. I always thought that's what it was called. How do you pronounce it?
I think.
Kolos? Kolos? How do you say
I say Kolos.
I think it's the Swedish word for Colossus.
So
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Actually, the last episode I did, the Bjork episode, actually one of the guys on it was from Sweden, so I should ask him. It's probably a pretty good resource to use for that one. Sweet. All right, Bryan, what do you got for number 10?
So my number 10 is actually a bit of a deep track. It's Dancers to a Discordant System.
Hell yeah.
The intro is really, really sick, and I remember that one racking my brain for quite some time. Just because of the way it's placed and like the way it's kind of offset a little bit, it's just nuts. And I found while making this list that I actually have a thing for the spoken word Meshuggah songs, where it's more just like not exactly screaming, but more just that sort of like spoken phrasing. Because I find that sort of speaking kind of accentuates that sort of odd rhythm because it's just accenting with the actual odd accents. So it just conveys that weirdness and that unsettling sort of emotion of sound even more to the listener. And
I was taking notes when I was going through this. I don't know if you can see it, but I put whispering gems with 2 hearts around it because I love that sound as well.
I think I have like 2 other songs on here with like spoken word or more like just more like the whisper tracks. It's so good. It's just so good.
For sure.
That song is one of the first songs that I heard when I was looking for like live videos of Meshuggah on YouTube way back in the day. I'm sure you guys have seen, there's a really amazing video of them doing this live. And that middle section, oh my God, it grooves so hard. I love that. Yeah. I don't know. That's one that I can't count. I was trying to see if it lined up in 4, but I don't know if you guys have any insight into that one. Is that 4, that groove?
I remember it changes at some point through the midway to kind of make it offset, but I don't think it's 4.
Because some people will make it seem like Meshuggah never uses odd meters. Like they definitely have some songs that use odd meters.
Oh yeah.
Like Electric Red is in 7. You know, I think there's plenty of songs that aren't in 4. But
Electric Red's a bit of foreshadowing for me.
Acrid Placidity. That one's in 5.
I remember writing down some over here. Is this one? No.
And then are we still counting 12/8 as 4/4? Because there are some I would feel it. Yeah.
You can't help but feel it as the macro. It's like that, just that massive groove. And usually Thomas Hawk is like accentuating just that one big macro groove over like the 16th smaller like micro.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Nice. All right, number 9, Gannon.
All right. For this one, I put Perpetual Black Second. I really liked like on the, I guess the verses. I just loved how the rhythm of the vocals interplayed with the rhythm of like what the riff was going on underneath. How it like would accent certain parts of it and then kind of like glide over other parts of it. It's really cool. And the guitar solo on that one sounds like buzzing bees, and I just love feeling like there's bees in my brain when I'm listening to this. And so the opening riff on this one is one where you can like you almost think it's in 7, but then just I think it goes around like 9 rounds of 7 or something like that, and then there's just 1/16th note tacked onto the end of it, and then you realize that the whole thing's in 4 again.
Didn't Tomas say that a lot of times when they write, they're actually programming? They all have like a laptop and they're programming drum beats. I thought I saw an interview where he said that. So like when you hear something like that, I wonder if they just take like this crazy rhythm and they just stretch it as long as they can, and then they're just like, all right, we got to add 1 note here so it lines up, and then there's the groove.
They didn't start using the program drums until I think or at least Catch 33.
Well, I'm not saying that they're programming drums, but he told me like part of the writing process is that they program grooves.
But I think part of that was when they put together that they're like programmed drum sounds.
Oh, what year was that? What year was I?
I've got it up right here.
Oh, there we go.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Might be wrong. I actually didn't know it was that early because I remember learning that they started programming drums
2004.
Around 4.
I can't remember, me. I think I'm getting my info mixed up.
Because I know they started with, or I don't know if they started with it, but I know they definitely did it for Obzen and Kolos.
Mm-hmm.
And like they programmed that all in first, and then I don't remember if they actually kept the programmed drums on the record, and then Thomas Hoff just played them live. I remember hearing or reading like something about that.
That was for Catch 33.
Oh, I didn't even know they did program drums for Catch 33. That's nuts. I fucking love that record.
Oh, yeah. Does that count as one song?
See, if it did, that probably would have changed my list significantly.
Yeah, mine too.
I was thinking, like, do I count Catch 33 as one song, or am I cheating? I felt like I was cheating. Like, let me know.
I feel like you can make an argument that there are separate songs. Probably depending on which songs you pick, I would say, because some of them definitely seem like they're meant to just, be a couple of different songs, sandwiched together as one. But so my number 9, I'm going to go with The Exquisite Machinery of Torture. Really cool song, very unique. I really like the contrast with that. I don't even know what you call that really low, like kind of dark vocal stuff that he does on the verse. I don't know if that would qualify as like the spoken word stuff that you're talking about, but I don't know. He doesn't sing like that very often. I think it's kind of cool just hearing that. And then like the contrast when it goes into that chorus with just like the screaming and that really badass, guitar groove. I just always thought it was a super cool song.
And it's got a great guitar solo too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh hell yeah. Oh my god.
Chaos Sphere as a whole is really full of guitar solos, but it lends itself, I guess, because it's a product of its time. So it just sounds like bees in my brain more than anything. And I was trying real hard to pick one from Chaos Sphere as well, because that's like the one I listen to kind of in passing more than I guess the other ones. But Exquisite Machinery was actually one that I was going to put on my chart as well. That's a phenomenal song, and I like the snare sound in the intro of that. It's just phenomenal. It just like whacks you in the face.
Yeah, it's a really cool groove, that like tom groove that he does for the verse. I love it.
On my number 9, I went with Stifled.
Hell yeah.
Because I just remember the first time hearing it. There's so many great aspects to it, but particularly for me, the solo really just it unlocked so many things in my brain.
That's the first video I saw. Yeah, that was crazy.
Because I remember hearing that solo, and that was like the first time I thought this is a wind instrument solo. That like I need to play this on trumpet, and then the whole process of breaking it down, and it led me down this road where I'm discovering about like the diminished patterns and scales. That it's just changed the way I improvise and play and hear music now.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the outro to that song, just completely. Oh.
I also love the groove that happens underneath the solo. That dun 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 bum bum bum.
Ooh, yeah.
That groove's so hard. That's one of my favorite. I don't know if you would call that a breakdown, but whatever that is, that's like I think that groove's so hard. And it's a great solo too. Like if you're looking to get some insight into some of the types of stuff that Frederick Thorndahl plays, I mean, that has so much great stuff. Just in terms of like more guitar specific, but a lot of those spread diminished shapes that he does, and it pretty much gives you just like a nice just array of all these little diminished ideas that he does. That I mean, so cool too. I mean, so out of the ordinary too, like not like your
Mhm.
traditional like jazz, like diminished patterns and stuff like that. These really exotic, like Holdsworthy kind of sounds. And I've even heard people say that he doesn't really know any theory. Does anyone know if that's true?
I don't think that's true. He
I wouldn't
has
think
to.
so. Yeah.
He has to.
But yeah, incredible song. And then would you do Jerome? Now we got Bryan, right? Number 9.
So my number 9 is actually a Quarter of Chameleons, which is I feel like definitely a slept on track on Chaosphere, at least. Like I was going back through and listening through that album again made me realize that a lot of Frederick's legato shapes are there. Like they're just budding there. Like that's a budding ground for a lot of those legato shapes. Because you hear it a lot throughout the record, and there's actually the solo in that is also absolutely phenomenal. But man, just the idea of like Jerome, you having to go through that to break it down for a wind instrument is wild. Like trying to imagine like breaking down a Thorndal solo, just in general, is mind-boggling.
It's hard enough on guitar, never mind a trumpet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Oh my god. Yeah, because like you said on guitar, it's like I can see on a fretboard.
Yeah,
That's like a distinct pattern that's moving around. There's a logic to it, but then on the trumpet with valve combinations, this is just way too brutal.
Yeah. Because a lot of times what he'll do is he'll do like that diminished pattern, and he'll do that trick where you just move it up 3 frets, but like you don't have that luxury on the trumpet. It's like, oh, I just moved this up 3.
Yeah.
Move it up 3 valves.
Yeah, the luxuries of guitar. That's one of the few benefits of the guitar, I would say, is that one thing. That's you know, every instrument has their pros and cons, I guess. You know, but that it is mine. I mean, every time you post one of those Meshuggah videos, I mean, and for anybody who hasn't seen these videos, I'll put a link to your YouTube. They're all on your YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do one every Monday, right? Not always Meshuggah, but you do a Metal Monday thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
Keep me sane, active.
Yeah, we need stuff like that. The only thing keeping me sane is Meshuggah. That's an interesting phrase.
Yeah, this week I was more sane than normal because listening to all that.
Yeah, it keeps you grounded, right?
Yeah.
All right, number 8, Gannon.
You know, funny thing. Number 8 for me was Corridor of Chameleons.
Oh wow.
Hey.
Hell
yeah. I just love it. There's like this one riff that happens at like 2:20ish that the vocals happen over, and then they get into like a more intense instrumental version of it like 20 seconds later, and I just love that development that happens to that part.
Is that the groove that happens underneath the guitar solo?
I don't know. I
think that's later. Yeah,
that groove under that guitar solo is super badass too. That groove so hard. I love the thing that Frederick does where he'll do like a solo, and then that solo will end by them going into the groove, and Frederick will hold out like these long tones over it. Like he does that all the time. Like, that's such a specific sound to Meshuggah, and I just love that because he always hits like these really kind of dark, dissonant notes, and you have like this really, you know, intense groove underneath it. It just all pieces together so nicely.
Especially on Chaosphere, it's like it has that quality. It feels like I'm watching the X-Files in the 1990s.
Yeah,
and it's like the theme of Aliens for me is that album.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's that like there's a lot of that, you know, starting pitch, half step down, minor third down, that sound that's just like all over that album. That creates that really like kind of eerie thing.
Yeah. Even Frederick solos, he uses those shapes all the time. The diminished, or it can be an augmented scale too, depending on where you use it. But where was I going with that?
He's got like a wild like tap, like intervallic tapping legato thing going on through a lot of the solos in the record. And it's nuts because you're hearing these like runs all the way down on the left side of the neck, and you're hearing these higher notes just dotted around too. It's just like comes together so well.
Isn't he not going to be on the new Meshuggah album?
Is it Per Nilsson now? I think he's doing Soul Niger again, which I hope he is.
He's been on hiatus touring since at least 2017 to work on his solo album and to put together his home studio.
His home studio is dank as fuck.
Oh my
Just
god!
See all the Instagram photos on there. Oh my god!
And
a whole circle of cabs and heads.
But Pear, I don't think Pear's not on it. He's just there for the tours.
He's only done one album, right? With the Soul Niger.
Yeah, he's only done
Yeah.
one. Yeah,
And that was a while ago, right?
Yeah,
That's
I'm
awesome.
pretty sure the
That
only
one-
way
that
to
one's
get that
so
was
good.
pirated. It's my favorite.
Oh
That's why
my
I need
God.
another one.
Yeah, especially now during COVID times, we need new music. You know?
Oh yeah.
All right, my number 8. I'm gonna go with a cliche one, but I'm gonna go with Rational Gaze. Just
Yes.
always loved it. One of the earlier Meshuggah songs I heard, because I had heard some Meshuggah songs when I was in college, but then somebody showed me that video of the Wolf of Wall Street,
Yep.
with the Rational Gaze over it, and I was like, holy shit, this groove's so hard. What is this? And then it's always had a special place in my heart from that point on. And I think a song like this is a perfect first song to show somebody who's never heard Meshuggah before. I feel like it just kind of like completely captures like the vibe that they're going for,
Mm.
Another 4/4. That's one of the easier 4/4 ones, I would say, to kind of,
Yeah.
it's nice and clear with got the symbol on all 4 and the backbeat. That one's a little bit easier to kind of count out if you're trying to get into that 4/4 Meshuggah stuff.
Still just gets into your neck like immediately. You start like
You can't help it.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
And I'm not like one that ever dances or does anything like that when I go to shows, but like I only saw him once years ago with Gannon, but you just can't help yourself when you're there. It's just,
Yeah, I didn't really listen to them before that show, and then that changed like everything.
Oh,
I think
wow.
I think everybody needs to go to a Meshuggah show. I don't care if
Oh,
you
yeah.
like metal or not. Like I just
Oh,
think
yeah.
you need to go experience it.
yeah.
It's the greatest.
Yeah, everything from
Yeah.
like the light show to the community to the actual music itself. Like their presence on stage has always been this like massive, looming, evil presence. It's so
Yeah.
good.
It's like exactly
nail it
like
every
their
time.
music.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Presence is, yeah, they're so intense. That was a great show. That was also Animals as Leaders, and wasn't it the
Uh-huh.
Contortionist as well?
What?
No, I don't think. No, the Contortionist wasn't on that one. That was like it was Animals as Leaders, Meshuggah.
Was it only those two?
There was
like
no,
a
there was
20th
another.
anniversary?
Remember, no, we got there
It might have
late.
been.
Remember we missed the first band. Remember we got there a little bit late. There was another band.
Yeah, I don't think it was the Contortionist though.
Oh wait, was it Intronaut? Was it the one where freaking
Yeah,
Sasha was
yeah.
sick? Or no, what was it? Johns was sick and Sasha sang for them for like one song.
I think so.
Yeah, dude, Sasha Dunable singing Dancers to a Discordant System at that show was wild. Oh my god, so good. So good.
Yeah, I haven't heard Intronaut in a while.
I know.
Into that.
They're
I'm
so
jealous.
good.
When was that?
This was years ago. This
Yeah,
had to be
it's
at least
definitely a while
5 or
ago.
6 years ago.
Danny Walker's still in Intronaut, man. Oh god.
Yeah, this was before the 2 most recent Animals as Leaders albums. This was during,
Yeah, Weightless, I think.
yeah, Weightless. Yeah, so it was a long time ago. But that was incredible.
It was that long ago? Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
time
crazy
flies.
to think about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been in this coronavirus thing for like almost 8 months now.
So when
I
you
know,
saw them live, Frederick was still playing with
Yeah.
them.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Frederick was at that
see,
show.
I'm jealous of that. I mean, I love Pear, but that's when I saw them in 2018. That's Pear was filling in at the time, and it was still incredible. I remember when they came out. It's like my heart and gut. It felt like I was at the top of a roller coaster before they started playing. It was just this. Oh my god, this is real.
Every
Then they
band
hit
just
that
builds
first
that
note. And it's just drop.
Yeah.
It's like a huge drop down like the King to Ka.
thing.
And at that
Like
point,
droppy.
they were opening with Clockworks,
Oh my lord.
so you knew
Love that
it was
song so
coming.
much.
And then it's
They were bringing it.
Oh.
That intro riff. That's also some foreshadowing for later.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always wonder, like with guys, like especially now that they're getting older. I mean, by the way, it's insane how badass they are for how old they are. I mean, they just still are like as heavy as ever. But I wonder because a lot of times when I look at their set list, a lot of times they only play like 10 to 11 or 12 songs, at least nowadays. I wonder if that has something to do with just like the amount of endurance it takes to play that. It's such demanding music. You know, I would imagine. Do you think they've shortened their set lists as they've gotten older because of that?
Thomas talked about that on an interview I saw on YouTube, and he was saying, they were asking him specifically about Tempe, because something like Future Breed Machine back in the day, it would just be off the rails. Just it was almost falling apart, going faster and faster. But then if you see some of their latest ones, it's a little more subdued, but I love them both. I'm not gonna say that the slightly slower one's better or the faster one's better. They both are amazing. The ones they do now, it's more of a controlled thing. And he said, yeah, for stamina and just being able to keep up, especially if they're on tour and have to do this night after night.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm sure now that Bleed is like a staple of their set lists now, and that song being as demanding on the feet and ankles that it is, I'm sure that's caused their set list to be shortened maybe a little bit. Just because that for like a full, like, what, 6 minutes?
Yeah.
Unreal. It's like running a marathon.
He gets a nice little break in the middle.
Yeah. They just play. That's why they play
Tomas
Mine's
does a
Mirrors.
lot of leg workouts and stuff.
Yeah.
For stuff like that. You know, I mean, doing with I Am Colossus and doing the leg workout that you're doing. I wonder if he's doing the same thing. It takes some crazy endurance, you know?
Yeah.
That's why they throw Mine's Mirrors in there just to give him a break. Those like massive vocal cords. So sick.
Yeah, that's got to be a relief. I kind of relate that to, like, as a jazz musician, like when you're soloing over a rhythm changes, like when the bridge comes, you can kind of like breathe a little bit. You know, maybe it's like the same thing. Like, all right, I can relax a little bit now. Got through the craziness. Probably not as bad as Meshuggah. I'll grant you that. But, you know, I can see the parallels. All right, Jerome, what's your number 8?
My number 8, I went with Clockworks.
Nice.
It's to me at this point, it's almost iconic, because I remember when this album dropped, I remember listening to it when I was in Manhattan. I was walking down Broadway, and I just remember when the whole thing, it was so good. And then when that drop comes right before the I had to just stop in the middle of the street and keel over for a second. Like, oh, this is so good. How did they do this? It was like I physically had to just stop my body and then just sit in that groove. It's so good.
I was just gonna say, listening to Meshuggah in Manhattan like makes the surrounding area just make more sense.
Is this during COVID or pre-COVID?
Honestly, pre-COVID is when it's like more hectic. But
right.
It makes rush hour at Times Square make sense.
Yeah.
Suddenly, New York makes sense. Just listen to Meshuggah.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything falls into place. All right, Bryan, what do you got for number 8?
Number 8 for mine. This was actually really hard to put later on the list. It's In Death is Death. So I really, really, really did catch 33. And as a whole album, it's amazing and incredible. In Death is Death was super high up for me, but now going through, putting it on the list, I'm actually kind of surprised that it landed this early. But like, oh my God. Just that groove in the middle is like, dan, 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 dan. And they play with that so much throughout that small time in the middle section. They give you like maybe like 3 variations on it before they actually go into another section, and each one hits harder than the last. It's so cool. It's so cool. And then they give you that like reprieve at the end where they just give you those like long tone held out melodic chords that they were doing around that Catch 33 era, because they were doing that around then. But yeah, oh my God, what a track. And I always remember every time I hear that track, seeing that live and going super hard in the pit for that one section, and then just backing out after that. I was like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah, that song just hits you. It's just like 7 minutes straight of just the tastiest just grooves, and then you have this little breakdown where it gets really spacey. I consider this one like the Pink Floyd Meshuggah song. It's like the 13-minute song that just keeps your attention the whole time. Like there's no dull moment. I always think like Pink Floyd is like the master band at achieving songs like that, and I always equate like this song kind of in that same category, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I never really thought of a parallel between Pink Floyd and Meshuggah. That's very apt. That makes a whole lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, just
Pink Floyd got a lot from Meshuggah.
Yeah. Yeah, David Gilmour was a huge fan of Frederick Thorndahl. You know, got a lot of diminished patterns from him.
Oh yeah. Oh my god, it's funny.
All right, what are we on, 7?
Yep.
Farrell, what do you got?
All right.
Nice shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you. My number 7 is, I think it was Jerome's number 9. It was Stifled.
Nice.
That
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that riff, that the guitar solo happens over it, and it like keeps going. Or is it the whole outro thing? Yeah, the ba ba da ba ba. Oh,
it's so good.
I actually like had to learn it while I was listening to this.
Oh, it's so good. It's just a half step, but the rhythm is just so ridiculous.
Yeah, and I wrote it down somewhere, like the phrasing of it. This is something that they do a lot, is they'll take like a core phrase and add a couple notes to it, take a couple notes off of it, and just like have it keep going through these weird cycles until it lines up with whatever groove they're doing. But yeah, this one was like, it's 3 bars of 9, and then 5, and then 9, 10, 9, and 4. So like the 2 halves of it kind of work out to be the same, but they just move that one beat like over from the first half to the second half. And
it lines up in 4 though, right? It's like an 8-bar form, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's an 8-bar form.
Yeah, because then you hear the change when it goes da da bum ba bum ba. It does the minor third. I think that lines up as 8 bars of 4. I think. I don't know. There'll be a lot of these discussions on this.
Yo, what gods? Oh my god.
Yeah, the general writing on The Violent Sleep had some pretty crazy intricacies like that. I think a lot of that was due to Dick's writing when he came into the band.
Did he do a lot of writing on that album?
Yeah, for this last one.
The Violent Sleep, okay. Because I feel like it might need a little bit longer to grow on me. Because I was listening to it for, listening to every track. And, like, really the first 4 tracks get me, and then it kind of loses me through, like, the back half of the album. Maybe it just has to sit with me a little longer.
It seems like a lot of Meshuggah fans regard that as one of their weaker albums.
I think it's just because it's so new.
That's probably what it is.
Because every other album's had so much time to kind of stew in our memories and develop. This one's still relatively new.
There's a lot of things I love about that album, though. It has some of my favorite Frederick solos. I mean, it's just loaded with great solos.
It is.
Stifled is my favorite Frederick guitar solo of all time.
Oh wow!
So that's a big part of that album for me, is that specific song. But what was that? That was yours, Gannon? Your number 7?
Yeah.
Nice. All right, I'm gonna do another cliche one for my number 7. New Millennium, Cyanide Christ.
Hey.
Just a classic. I feel like I don't even really need to say much about that one. We all love that song. Great groove. I love the interlude that has that guitar groove with those like dissonant notes, like those 2-note, like little dissonant patterns against it. Another very Meshuggah sort of sound. Another song I would say similar to Rational Gaze. It could be a great first song to show somebody who wants to get introduced to Meshuggah. And the title sounds really cool.
Yeah, it does.
As do most of their titles.
Yeah.
And it's also got one of the best music videos.
Oh, I never checked it out.
I didn't check it out. Yeah,
oh, it's the funniest. It's because it's them just playing air instruments on the tour bus.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Oh, that's so great.
So Jens is singing into like a pen, and then Thomas is like sitting up just like air drumming, and then Friedrich there is just playing air guitar. And they're all just thrashing around.
That's amazing.
I'd never seen a Meshuggah music video. I got to check that out. Are they all funny?
I think a lot of them are like live footage. Like,
which ones? There's a music video for Shed, Rational Gaze, Lead, cool. Clockworks. There's not much.
I feel like I gravitate more toward their playthroughs for all their songs than the actual music videos themselves.
Yeah.
Just as like watching Thomas Hawk go through a song is just absolutely batshit crazy.
Oh yeah.
Like the playthrough he did for Clockworks for Nostrum. Oh my god. Like, oh man, yeah.
Doesn't he even? Didn't he say that he doesn't even practice that much too?
Yeah.
I bet he does. He's just naturally gifted, insane dude.
Is he still married to that actress from Orange Is the New Black? I
Yeah.
don't know if he's married. I don't know if he's married or is he dating her?
No, I think they're married now. I think he because she sings for Alekeen's Gun, and I got a friend in that band, and they hang with him all the time. Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's super sick.
That's a
Jessica
hilarious
Pimentel's in it.
meeting of worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Meshuggah and Orange Is the New Black.
I want to meet them.
Yeah.
I want to go to Sweden and hang out with them.
I want to know what they talk about. I want to know what those conversations are like.
I want to see what the writing process is like. Just to be like a
Oh,
fly on the
seriously.
wall in Frederick Thorndahl's studio at like any point in time. Doesn't matter which Meshuggah, just like any Meshuggah. You can fly on the wall in that studio.
Yeah, he should do one of these days. Just like go on Instagram Live. Just leave the phone over on the side of the room. Just record your all day, just writing. I think people would love that. People would eat that up.
Hey, Frederick, if you're listening, make a Patreon and make that a buy-in option because I'll absolutely do it.
Yeah, hell yeah, that'd be awesome. All right, number 7 for Jerome.
My number 7, I went with Rational Gaze. For me, that's the sound of it. It's I've been checking out the lyrics more to that album, and just like the idea of just like this trippiness in the mind, in the body, and I feel like Rational Gaze just captures that sonically so perfectly. Especially you get that opening, and it just grooves so well, and then you get those sustained Thorndahl spiral out.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever read lyrics to Meshuggah songs. That's definitely an area that I'm not well versed in.
Oh man,
they're
it's
cool.
insane.
Yeah.
Especially Chaos Sphere. That it's disgusting. It's because at the time Thomas was reading a lot of like Clive Barker. So like that's the influence for this album.
Wow, does Tomas write a lot of the lyrics?
He
All of
writes.
them.
Yeah.
Is he the only one that speaks English?
He speaks the best English.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But I haven't read the Chaos Sphere ones. I read the Kolos ones and the Obzen ones. The Kolos ones are sick. They're so cool. It's built on making you feel like this massive, powerful thing. It's so cool.
It's interesting you brought up his wife Jessica, because they're both really into Buddhism, and it's trying to check out some of the lyrics through that lens. And I feel like especially Nothing in particular, it's fun to go in with that perspective.
Yeah, closed eye visuals. You look at some of the song titles.
Or what is it, the ayahuasca experience?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Somebody went to Peru.
Is that anyone
down there? What's that?
I wanted to put that in the top 10 just to be that guy, but it's like I know in my heart of hearts it's not in my top 10.
Oh.
Wait, what? What in your top 10?
The Meshuggah song, the ayahuasca experience.
Oh, what is that on?
Oh,
I never heard of it.
Oh my God! You should almost do a reaction video. I want to see your face when you hear it for the first time.
I'll do a reaction video. Sure, I've never done one of those, but that could be hilarious.
I forget which album is it. It's like a bonus track, either on Rare Tracks or.
Oh,
yeah, I think it was on Rare Tracks.
I'm not. Yeah, outside of the studio albums, I'm not as well versed. But I'll check that out, and if I feel if it feels right, I'll do a reaction video.
What is it? Like Self-Caged. I feel like it's on the same one with Future Bread Machine.
Future Bread Machine.
Wait, the Destroy, Erase, Improve?
No, it's
I think it was on Rare Tracks. Might be right. I'll check this out.
Future Bread Machine.
Ayahuasca Experience. Yeah, it's on Rare Tracks.
Rare Tracks. Nice, I'll have to check that out.
I haven't listened to that in like actual ages, so I might just go back and do that tomorrow.
There you go. Substitute your morning coffee.
Yeah,
with
I
the
mean, because for
ayahuasca
this, I went through
experience.
all the studio albums. I didn't really think to go through the live stuff. So I was like,
Yeah.
all right, let me just kind of go.
I
through
haven't
it.
listened to that stuff as much. I need to listen more to have a better idea of what I think of it. I mean, even their studio albums, going back and listening to them every time, it's like a new experience, you know?
Yeah,
All right, what are we on? Number 7, and we
Yeah,
just
it's my
did
number 7.
Jerome, right? It's Bryan. Yeah.
yeah. This one I chose literally just because it sat with me the least. It's a I. I got into I as a whole super late, as opposed to when I got into just, I guess, Meshuggah as a whole. So like, I got into them around Obzen, went back and listened to everything, and then I went into Kalas. But you know, in going back and listening to everything, I had a lot of stuff in between. So I just sat with me the least. But as a track, it's one of those, like Mike, you had mentioned, it's one of those like Pink Floyd-y tracks where it's like 13, 14, in this case, 21 minutes. And it still keeps your attention throughout the entire thing.
Mm.
Like there's never a point in that track where I'm even shifting focus or listening to anything else. I'm like neck deep in the groove the entire time. And that's one of their talents as far as writing, honestly. Like the fact that they can make so many of these grooves, sometimes that don't even lock together in any way, shape, or form, fluid. They can just make that whole thing just go from one to the other seamlessly. Is an incredible talent of
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Amen.
theirs.
Sweet. All right, number 6, Farrell.
All right. I chose New Millennium Cyanide Christ for my number 6.
A lot of repeats. This is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just a really groovy song, just brutal through and through. I love at the end. There was like the final vocal part that it was kind of like the last groove, but a little more bare, a little more like everybody's on like specific hits, and then after the vocal part passes, then they just really go through it with like doing the backbeat to it and like really fleshing it out. It's just so good.
Mm. Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned New Millennium Cyanide because I meant to bring this up earlier. I had a professor at City College who took the groove of New Millennium Cyanide Christ and put it to a trap, like it made it into a trap beat in Logic.
Oh, sick.
And it worked. And it was just insane that you could like listen to this and see it and it working in a completely different context.
Yeah.
Like just it was like with 808s and like the whole thing instead of just massive drums and bass.
Wow.
It was still just so cool.
Like the guitar groove, but with an 808 bass instead.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
I would love to hear that in a car with like a really good subwoofer.
Just bass boosted, like a speaker behind you, a speaker in front of you.
Wait, Jerome, when we did that podcast years back with Rob Patrick, you fused New Millennium Cyanide Christ with another song, right? What was you remember what it was?
Oh, I mixed it with some motifs from Karl-Heinz Stockhausen's Leashed.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. That's very
Meshuggah
nerdy.
and
I love
Stockhausen
that.
sounds dank AF. That sounds great.
That was my master's research paper.
Oh wow. That's pretty sick.
What was the research paper on?
Just the music of Karl-Heinz Stockhausen and Meshuggah.
Wow, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
I didn't know you could do that. That's cool.
If there's a will, there's a way.
It's like, Gannon, do you remember that there was this teacher that came to WestCon one time when they were interviewing for new theory professors, and this guy had like a PhD in Led Zeppelin. He's like, yeah, I studied I pretty much like have a PhD in studying the recording techniques of Led Zeppelin and, you know, all of the inner workings of all of Led Zeppelin's albums.
That's incredible.
There are a few other people they've done doctoral theses that are about like rational gaze and dancers.
The professor that I mentioned earlier that did the Trap Beats New Millennium actually was a scholar in Meshuggah. It's wild. He published like a 46-page paper on like compositional methods of Meshuggah. His name was Jonathan Pieslak. It's like Pieszlak. He talks about them and he analyzes their music in something called hypermeasures. And I haven't read the paper in a long time, so can't really be like the bastion of knowledge for it, but definitely check it out since if you're like into it.
Sounds
Those
awesome.
hypermeasures?
Yeah, hypermeasures. If you look up Meshuggah and hypermeasures, I'm sure.
Good band name. Good math rock.
Hypermeasures, yeah, absolutely.
Hypermeasures, yeah.
Sounds pretty sick.
I'm sure someone took that already. All right, my number 6. I'm gonna just echo what a couple people have said already and go with Stifled, just because I can't not. It's just so good. Like I said, my favorite guitar solo of Frederick's, my favorite song on Violent Sleeper Reason by far. And that's three of us have picked that one already. So that's the most common one so far. Bryan, we'll see if
is it a Jerome string? Jerome's third.
Yeah, Jerome.
Yeah.
We're on number 6, right?
Yep.
For my number 6, I went with Concatenation.
Oh, that's such a good one.
But the remix from Rare Tracks.
Oh, okay.
Because I love both of those tracks. I mean, I almost want it. Can it count to have them both? Because it's the same song, but I know for me, the remix one, it's almost just a testament to how genius their writing is when you can take it at this blistering fast tempo, but then you just drop it a little bit, and then it has this completely other feel, and it's just a different song. And it just, for me, it amplifies how freaking heavy it is. Especially when the vocals come back in after the guitar solo.
Mm-hmm. That groove over that guitar solo is one of my all-time favorite. That was one, I counted that for so long. I finally figured it out, and it like blew my mind because that was one where I really had a hard time getting my head going, and I still do to this day, even after figuring out the groove. But it just does not feel like it's in 4 at all. But then you get the groove going, and like where the beats are, at least for me, is just not what I expected at all. Because it's like it's like really weird. It always lines up on. There's not like a lot of these clear downbeats that you can really pinpoint until the riff like circles around again. But one of my all-time favorite Meshuggah breakdowns.
Oh, and talk about great guitar solos as well.
Oh yeah, Chaos Fear's full of them. Yeah. That track specifically is also just really.
And then even
once again,
for the remix, the guitar solo, it's just so wild too.
Is the remix more similar to the live? Because the live version, there's only one like live recording of this, right?
I know the best one I've seen is they were playing. It's what was it? Oh, the Dynamo from '99. I know that there's a recording of them playing that live.
And they do it faster live, right?
Yeah, they play it faster.
So I never heard the remix. Is it more similar to the remix?
No, the remix is slow. Like instead, and then it's just got this fat like.
Oh no, I have heard that. Yeah, it's like it's like almost like halftime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll check that out again.
Yeah,
and then the guitar solo is it's so alien. It's just like out of this world.
That's the perfect word to describe it. It's like the definition of alien.
Yeah.
Good album title. Definition of alien. Almost sounds like a Dave Martone ripoff.
Yeah, right.
Did you see Dave Martone got Joe Satriani posted about Dave Martone today on his Instagram?
Yeah, they're friends.
Really cool. Yeah.
What did he say?
Dave Martone did some lesson video or something like that, and Joe Satriani posted it on his own Instagram to like promote it. I thought that was really awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, imagine
Dave Martone's
BFFs with Joe Satriani.
But who's Dave Martone?
He's this amazing like shred guitar player. He actually played the guitar. Did you hear that Nickelback doing "The Devil Went Down to Georgia"?
Oh boy.
No.
He did that. Like came out recently. I didn't hear it, but apparently it's good. But Dave Martone like did the guitar solo on that.
Wait, Nickelback did "Devil Went Down to Georgia"?
Yeah,
that's wild.
Because I feel like Jonathan Davis just did "Devil Went Down to Georgia" too.
From Korn?
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Wow. And Charlie Daniels died recently, so that's
probably why.
Oh, okay.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, Charlie Daniels died a couple months ago, so that would make sense.
Yeah. It was actually really cool. I think Dave's guitar work on that song is like it's almost too weird for it. it's amazing, but it's like it's just it's an interesting sound to add to Nickelback.
So he's on the entire Nickelback album?
No, just that song, I think.
Oh, I got to check this out.
Yeah.
Yeah, do a reaction video.
Nickelback.
You know that the drummer of Nickelback was on When the Aliens Come.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have a live DVD of Dave Martone, and that was the drummer. That guy's a great drummer.
Yeah, he is. For sure.
All right, so I think, did I just do my number 6?
Oh no, that was Jerome's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Brian.
Mine's gonna be Soulburn. I absolutely love this track so much. They take these like really simple. They take basic duple and triples, like you get 4 and 6, and just take those subdivisions and subdivide it in such an interesting way that it still grooves and doesn't sound like the original at all. And it's wild. I took, it's like the pattern of the second groove. Where it's like, dun, 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 dun. And like trying to write that out in 16ths, it's a goddamn mess. Like, you just see numbers. It looks like Morse code. It's just nuts. I was trying to think of it out because, like, sometimes you'll find cool things. Like, well, I'll reference it later. But like, sometimes you find like really cool little patterns that they put in there. For this one, it's just balls to the wall groove, and I love any Meshuggah track with that in it, which is all of them. So.
For me, that song is like a prime example of a song where I hear the opening and I think I know where the timing is, and then the drums come in and I'm just like, wait, what?
I love
even
that.
Still to this day, it's so good. Love it.
Bands do that. I absolutely love that.
I get that too with another weird song I've always gotten that with is Body Snatchers by Radiohead. For whatever reason. Yeah, like I think I know where beat 1 is, and then it always throws me off.
The intro makes it sound like he's doing all that on the upbeat, or is it the opposite way? Yeah, it sounds like he's doing it all on the upbeat, and then when the drums come in, it's on the down, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. Another one too is you know that song "Living in the Material" or "Spirits in the Material World" by
the
the
Rush
Police?
one. Oh no, the Police one. Yeah.
You ever heard that song? Like when it goes into the chord, listen to that if you want to try to figure out some time signature stuff. That one is wild. So all right, we're down to 5. Final 5.
Oh man, we're into the top 5.
Can we take like a
5? Can
we take like a 1-minute break? I just gotta pee really quick.
Oh yeah, I could always use the bathroom. I go a lot.
I will grab another beer. Let's see.
Right, we are back, and we are down to the final 5.
Final 5.
Jesus.
The moment of truth. Gannon, start us out.
All right. My number 5 was The Demon Named Surveillance.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, like, I don't. Tomas Hack. That, I mean, just being able to go for 6 minutes of straight 16th note triplets is, I mean, I don't know. What can you say about that?
It's hard to do.
Yeah. Oh, just yeah. That is certainly something you could say about that. But yeah, I mean, it's just so high energy, just driving the entire time, and that like pull-offy guitar riff. I don't know. It's just so good. I just want to like
Violent Sleep of Reason.
Oh no, that was Kolos, right?
Yeah, it's Kolos.
Oh, okay.
That
I love that one.
Yeah, it's a really
so
and
good.
then the rhythmic structure, and it's just like dun 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 bum 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 bum.
Yeah.
And then it starts on the 2, then the 3. That's every time I listen to it, it's like, oh, it's pretty easy. If you can count to 3, you can count to this.
I feel like it's good for Meshuggah, but maybe unlucky for Thomas Hawk that the songs that are usually the biggest hits on their latest albums are all the ones that are incredibly taxing on drums.
Yeah.
i.e. Bleed, i.e. that one. And like now Clockworks. It's just like all of now they have to be incorporated into a set because they're all like massive successes as far as songs.
That's a really good point. I never thought of that. Like I wonder what Tomas's like reaction is when stuff like that happens.
He's like, oh shit, now I have to play this back to back with
right.
'Cause I've even thought that sometimes, like with Mid-Atlantic Tidal, with some of those songs that are really taxing on the guitar, and like if we're playing in every set, there's definitely sometimes where I'm like, oh, I wish we could like substitute this one tonight for something else.
Oh, I know,
Winter's
right?
so good. Never ever take that out of a set. It's so
Not
good.
Winter, I think probably Apex.
Apex was just like, that was just a
workout.
finger twister of a song.
Yeah, that was a workout. That was our Pink Floyd song.
Seeing that on tour nightly was a pleasure, though. So I will take that for all I can.
Oh, hearing your guys' stuff was great too. I was just thinking, you guys were one of the things that you guys always did that I really loved was, I don't know how you did it, but you have this way of utilizing the drop D tuning where it actually sounds like you have 7-string guitars. Like I remember there'd be parts where you'd have these breakdowns, and I'd be like, I didn't know they had a 7-string, and then like I would talk to you after, and you're like, oh, it's just drop D. But I don't know what it is about some of those grooves that you guys would do, like those breakdowns, but it was just so heavy, like some of the heaviest drop D stuff I've ever heard.
Harold likes those like tritone chords, just like
those
that like bottom.
Yeah, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
It's so dope.
All right. Gannon, you just went, right? Yeah, team and names.
Yeah.
My number 5 is Dancers to a Discordant System.
Hey.
We already talked about that one. Yeah. Just groove so hard. I love that whole middle interlude section. Another great guitar solo from Thorndahl. It's a great song.
Yeah.
That one always gives me like really big Toolish vibes toward the like intro, and I guess like right before the first verse section. It's like really, I guess, as close to Tool as Meshuggah can be. But like, it's really cool because it's sort of like it's a
besides
good
Ritual.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a really good instance of like subdued Meshuggah, where it's still very rhythmically complicated. Well, sounds rhythmically complicated, but just very subdued. It's all relatively clean guitar. It's not like in your face like Clockworks or like another bigger group like that. But it's still such a good song.
Sort of related to Tool. I think in 2002 they toured with Tool and opened for Tool. How freaking insane would it be?
Oh my god.
Meshuggah opening for Tool. Oh my god.
Go back in time, catch that tour.
Yeah, I don't know if that like it should be considered an opener. I feel like a show like that just has to be listed as like 2 headliners.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah,
especially because Meshuggah is like so heavy. How does a band like that open for somebody else? Like how you just set the bar so high right off the bat, you know?
Hot take: I'd probably leave after Meshuggah. I'm sorry. I'm not a crazy Tool fan.
People are divided on Tool. People are very divided on Tool.
Mm-hmm.
Is it? What about? Is it like a specific era of Tool or just in general?
It's really just the vocals for me.
Okay.
It's really just the vocals that don't do it. Everything else is phenomenal. Everything else. Justin Chancellor is a phenomenal bass player. It's just nuts. He's influential as all hell. Set the tone for any kind of progressive bass playing as a whole.
Yeah.
But it's just the vocals. Just can't do it.
Are you a fan of any other Maynard James Keenan projects?
Perfect Circles. Oh, like a Perfect Circles is kind of the same thing, where it's like I love the instrumentals, but it's the vocals again.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of like kids nowadays, or like when people talk about modern rap and they say, you know, I love the beat, I just hate the rapping. That's like I feel like that's like every rap song nowadays. The music part of it is great. I'm kind of half and half on Tool too. I tried listening to the new album and I had a hard time getting through it. I never finished it. I got to revisit it, but I like some of their stuff. Some of their stuff kind of bores me a little bit, but I wouldn't say that I dislike them.
I mean, they have their toolbox. No pun.
Oh man.
They have their vocabulary that they draw from, and like they all come in with their specific things. And I feel like a big thing. I really enjoy Tool. I haven't gotten as into their most recent album, but like, and I know that even amongst Tool fans, 10,000 Days was a very contested album, but I that's my favorite album personally.
Yes.
But, you know,
you're in good company.
Yes. But you know, like Adam Jones is, you know, it's drop D, it's pentatonic. You know, he has a lot of very characteristic things that he generally goes to, and I think that's because guitar. I don't think guitar is like his first passion. Yeah, he made the dinosaurs for Jurassic Park.
Did he actually? Wait, like the animatronic
Yeah.
ones?
Whoa.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I don't think he made the animatronics, but he designed them.
Wow, that's pretty sick.
So he's like a very talented visual artist. So I you know, but I feel like that specific sound that he uses throughout like most Tool things is, I think, what I could see why people would be turned off to that. But I do love them as a band.
What's the album? Is it Lateralis? That's their popular one, or is that a song? Lateralis.
That's the one that's
Both.
Yeah, that's the one that's off the
I
Fibonacci sequence of like all the other Tool fans.
It's got a Parabola on it. Is that the album I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always liked that album a lot. Did you ever, just kind of off topic, did you ever see the video of Tim and Eric interviewing Maynard James Keenan?
What kind of Tool has his own vineyard?
Yeah, that's what they said. That's because he's really into wine, and they're interviewing him about wine. And then they say, "Let me ask you this: what kind of Tool has his own vineyard?"
Well, it's always great when he's on Joe Rogan's podcast.
I haven't listened. He went on a couple of days ago.
Yeah, he's been on a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Rogan has been having a crazy week. He had Kanye West a couple of days ago, and then he just had Alex Jones and Tim Dillon.
The Alex Jones one is hysterical. I just watched the clip compilation all the time. It's so great.
The newest, there's one that just came out today.
With Alex Jones in it?
Yeah, there's a new one. Yeah.
Oh, I cannot wait to watch that.
I gotta get in that. I just finished the Kanye one.
That's
insane.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Talk about just not getting a clear answer when you ask a question. You know, Joe asks like a very simple question, and it's just this massive, just.
Oh, but it was brilliant. It's like I felt like it was just the perfect filter to just showcase how Kanye works, and then just like he let him go off, and it's like, all right, awesome.
That's what Joe's so good about, you know, letting people do it. That's why so many people like Joe. You know, he lets his guests just talk, and you get to see for yourself what they're really like. You know, it's not these sound bites. It's not like something where there's like a 10-minute limit and you have to get certain questions in. It's very organic, you know.
Oh man.
But so getting back to Meshuggah. Were we on number 5? I just did my number 5, right?
Yeah.
Did Jerome go?
No.
Okay.
My number 5, I've got Combustion.
Oh, that's a good track.
An opener, and it hits.
Yeah, it does.
This one. When I was thinking about songs, I almost started sweating thinking about this song just because it's got so much energy. And it's like there's something. It's because it's so short too, and and it's compact, and it's got an amazing guitar solo in it.
You've had a lot of things happen to you as a direct result of Meshuggah's music. You had that experience in Manhattan. You started sweating from this song. It goes to show you the power of this music, you know?
Yeah.
I remember like having gotten into Meshuggah at Obzen, listening to Combustion for the first time. Listening to the whole album for the first time was just absolutely insane. Because like, I remember I was on the train when I was listening to it. I was on the 7 going to practice. And I just lost my whole freaking mind in the corner. I was just in like the far corner seat right by the door to go into the next cart. And I was just losing it. It was it's the first time I'd ever heard something so heavy, so raw, so disjointed but perfect. And it was just like I lost it. I was like, this is the best band ever.
The first album you heard was Obzen?
Obzen, yeah. I got into Meshuggah super late.
Yeah, I was late on them. I mean, when I was in high school, I remember hearing about them from Terry Sierick. When I'd go to National Guitar Workshop, he would always talk about polyrhythms, and he'd bring up Meshuggah. And I remember when I was in high school, I found like a song on YouTube one time, but I don't think I was like mature enough to appreciate it yet. Like, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was too. I couldn't handle something like that in high school.
That was me with the Dillinger Escape Plan when I got into it.
Oh man.
Dude, like the first time Harold put on the Dillinger Escape Plan for me the first time, I think he put on something from Miss Machine. and I was like still way under to get it. I was just like, it went right over my head. And then One of Us Is the Killer came out, and I was like, this is incredible. Let me go listen to everything else.
I gotta check them out still. I think you guys recommended an album when we were on tour, and I listened to it and I liked it, but I never went back and re-listened.
One of Us Is the Killer is a phenomenal album. Option Paralysis is also a phenomenal album. Those are my two favorites. But yeah, I mean,
great. Plenty of stuff to check out.
Oh yeah.
All right, do we just do it? Brian, do you have to do number
5?
I
got my number 5. My number 5 is Spasm. That ridiculous intro is just so good. There's a part throughout, actually this goes throughout the entire song. The one of the guitars is playing an arpeggio and it's implying 6, while the actual main groove is implying 7. And then they throw in like one bar of 4/4 just to resolve the polyrhythm. And they do this repeatedly over the course of the song, and it's so good. Like that song put me onto that whole like compositional method where like you can really get away with putting any two rhythms together as long as you just add the difference at the end and groove it and just make it work.
Yeah.
Like any two rhythms can go together as long as you can groove the resolution back into itself.
Yeah.
And it's just, like that song just put me onto that whole thing. It's so good.
That's a great song. Have you ever seen that YouTube video of the guitar cover of that song?
No.
Oh, it's so funny because the whole thing is just like an open string. So it's like this guy, and it's like guitar cover of Spasm, and he just has all the other strings are taken off the guitar. It's just one open string, and he just going da 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 da.
I saw some guy do that for an After the Burial song. I think it was a Wolf Among Ravens, where he had like a shovel with an EMG pickup in it and one string. And it was just him playing just like the open string and the octave. It's like it's like a freaking shovel with an EMG in it. It's great.
It shows you it definitely shows you like one of the main reasons a lot of people get 8-string guitars. You know,
oh, yeah.
It's like you just use this string.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, it sounds heavy.
I bought Collins. Like he had a Kiesel 8-string like that. Gannon, or actually both of y'all know that Kiesel 8-string that he had. He was selling for dirt cheap because he got the Strandberg and he doesn't need the other one anymore. So I bought it off of him, and just like learning all these wild chord shit because he's in the Animals Leaders tuning where it's like E A like E G E and then E B E and then the rest.
Yeah.
Wait, what's the Animal? What are the bottom 2 strings?
So E, B, and E, and then standard tuning for the rest of the guitar.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's just the extra fifth and the octave on the bottom. And like,
so you could just bar it, and it's a power chord.
Exactly.
So it's almost like drop D. Well, it's not drop D, but the same fingerings as if you were playing drop D, where you bar it and it's a power chord.
It just gives all these other voicings that you were doing in traditional guitar this like extra depth to it because you have the fifth and the octave below it when you bar it. So you're getting all these like this super lush like wall of harmony just coming at you. It's great.
Yeah, you can't beat like a low fifth on the bottom of a voice.
Oh,
it's just
never.
Gonna fatten it up so much.
Mm-hmm.
Massive. Right, we're on 4, right?
4. Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Call me basic, but I went with Bleed.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody picked that one yet.
There's nothing basic about Bleed.
Oh, man.
Oh, no, not at all. I love the Meshuggah songs where like the theme is very obvious throughout and they just kind of like punch you in the face with it over and over again, but you can really just hear how many different things they can do with the same thing. And I feel like Bleed is such a good example of that because they just take that idea of like those tremolo picks like what 16th or 32nd notes, whatever, and they just manipulate it in so many different ways throughout the course of that song, and it's really incredible. And I'm also I've never tried to learn it because I'm terrified of that, to be honest. But like, so good, so good.
Yeah, that's gotta be just as much of a workout on the guitar as it is on the drums. That. Oh my god, it's insane.
Yeah.
I remember seeing there's a guitar cover on YouTube of a guy doing it in all thumps.
Whoa. Okay.
So
Okay.
Honestly, I feel like that's the easier way to do it.
I think so. Yeah.
Especially speaking from a bassist point of view, because like the 3-finger thing sucks when you have to do it for that long. For like a whole song, it's like it's tiring doing it for like maybe like a couple minutes. I can't imagine like a whole 6-minute song.
Yeah.
Jesus, like this is nuts. So like the thumping kind of feels like it might alleviate a little bit of the pressure.
Yeah.
It sounds good. He makes it sound good.
Weird.
I can't hear. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's not like too percussive. The thumping.
Oh, the thumping? No. It's very even.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I can't hear somebody hum the bleed riff anymore without thinking of that Bill Burr video. You've heard that, right?
Oh, wait, he talks about Meshuggah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He keeps humming the riff. He's like, yeah, the drums are going. That video is spot on. The way he like, that's like the perfect way of like somebody who like, he plays music, but he's obviously not like a professional musician, but like somebody who has like a general understanding of music describing what Meshuggah is. That's like as good as it's going to get. I feel like the way he breaks it down. That's such a good video.
I feel like I'm like super into like people like I guess popular celebrities getting into like these more niche things and like spreading that idea out to their fan base. Like Bill Burr getting into Meshuggah is a fantastic example. Like it's this guy with this huge platform getting into this like relatively niche thing in the grand scope of things, still introducing it in a way to his audience that's still like understandable and intelligible and still conveys the fun of it.
Yeah, you can tell that he genuinely enjoys it.
Mm-hmm.
And to echo what you were saying before, Gannon, about how they're a band that you have to see live, like that's what he said. He said, like, I recommend everybody see them live at least once because it's an unbelievable experience. And I guarantee, I'm sure a ton of people who have no idea who Meshuggah is heard that and then they checked him out, just because of Bill Burr.
Yeah.
I hope so, man. I hope a lot of people went to shows after that because a Meshuggah show really is a completely different experience. Yeah. Like every time people ask me how was it, I'll say it was a religious experience, and like it's not entirely a joke. Because like when you're in the pit for your favorite Meshuggah song, it's just a complete like your brain just leaves. You're just having pure fun in the moment, enjoying the music, in the groove. And it's great.
I mean, the between the kick drum, the bass, and 2 8-string guitars, like there's just so much low end that you just get hugged by it.
You do.
And I think there's like a big sense of community at a lot of those shows because everybody's doing the same thing. Everyone's nodding their head. Everybody's just like grooving to the same thing. And I think that probably enhances the experience of the show. Like you saying, like you had a religious experience. Like I'm sure a big part of that was like there is like a feeling of community there where it just feels like everybody's experiencing the same thing.
Oh yeah, that's honestly one of the best parts of Meshuggah shows, and honestly metal shows as a whole. Just like this new sense of community that you can immediately get. Like everyone around you is a fast friend. Mm-hmm. You want to make friends, you already know because you're here, so you listen to the same kind of music, and that's already just a huge tie for everybody in the room. So, and then like for Meshuggah, I guess like the more niche you get in that field, the stronger those fast friends can become. Because like you're obviously all here for a reason. It's like we all love this, and not everybody loves this, so we can all immediately just kind of gather out. Like you could just point to anybody in the crowd at a Meshuggah show and be like, "Hey, dude, when was your last Meshuggah show?" And they'll tell you this extensive experience about their last time seeing Meshuggah.
Or then you're next to the people. I was standing next to someone, and they were literally like, "I've never even heard of this band." And it's like, "Oh,
what a treat!"
Yeah, right.
You're gonna get blasted off the planet right now.
No shit. I had that at the 25th anniversary of Colors Between the Buried and Me. I was standing next to someone who had never heard that band before. I'm like, dog, you are in for a whole life-changing experience.
Almost jealous of them.
Mm-hmm.
This is their first time.
The 25th anniversary show of that. They were playing Colors front to back. It was incredible.
I'll be honest. I don't think I've ever like been able to make it through an entire Between the Buried and Me show.
Oh man, that used to be me. Like around, let me see, or like right before Weightless era Animals as Leaders, BT Band was playing Parallax 2 back front to back. It was with Tesseract, with Elliot Coleman still in it.
Mm.
The Safety Fire, when they were still a band.
Whoa.
And Between the Buried and Me. And I was like, this band's boring, let's go. And then, like, 2 years later, I fucking love that band. I have a whole poster right here.
Why, what is it about their shows?
I mean, between the sense of community, it's like Meshuggah in the sense that it's very heavy and you get that same sense of community, like headbang, where you're all like headbanging the same thing. But they have a lot more feel changes in their music. So keeping up with it is a bit more of like a task that you have to do.
Right. It's not like just nod.
Yeah, but like when you nail it and you feel great. And like if you already know the pieces coming in, you're just singing along, dancing along, doing whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I mean, all the metal shows, like every prog metal show, because prog metal is, I guess, niche compared to everything else, just gets that sense of community immediately, which is always
for sure.
Yeah, great point.
Even in big headliners, because I went to see Slayer on their farewell tour with like Lamb of God, and even in the audience there were people wearing like political shirts, and you could tell there was just everyone on every spectrum imaginable on the planet. Yeah. But it didn't matter because everyone's there. Like, we're here for our favorite bands to just rock out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the true testament to metal. If it can get people to not argue over politics, like if you could wear a political shirt to a metal show and not get called out, that's a good sign. Something's happening.
Maybe that's what's missing at every family Thanksgiving dinner. It's just
a Slayer show.
A Slayer show.
If that cured all the polarization in the country right now, we just figured out that people have to listen to metal more.
Yeah.
Somebody runs for president on that platform, like any question they ask about a problem, they're like, we just got to get people listening to metal more. Trust me.
The soundtrack to the next debate is going to be Raining Blood.
There was this video, I've been trying to find it forever. It was back when Trump was running in 2016. He did a rally in Bridgeport, and I found the video on YouTube. And before he came out, they had this music playing over the speaker, and it was like 80s like hair metal with like a shred solo over it. It was one of the funniest things I ever heard. I was like, I don't know who found this song and chose to play this while people are waiting for him to come out, but I haven't been able to find it again. But if I do, it'll go into the Instagram message right away.
Oh, that's incredible.
But it was so funny. All right, are we?
That was my number 5. I think.
Yeah, what's your number 4, Mikey?
Oh, you just went. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Stenga.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh my god.
I mean, I have this has a special place in my heart. It's the first Meshuggah song I ever heard because the first album that I put on was Nothing, and that just brought me in right away. It had my complete attention. It starts out with like this like cool rhythm in the guitar, and you're like, what's going on? It's cool, and then the drums hit, and you're like, oh my god. Like it just hits so hard. It's such a satisfying like first like entrance, and just the whole song. I love the groove, the dun 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 bah, bah. Those are really really unique, like really low chords. It sounds like power chords, but there's like a couple of extra notes I think in the second one that are really cool. Just another one I think is just a great introduction to Meshuggah. I mean, it was the first song I heard, and it had me hooked right away.
Yeah. Do you know if in that very opening riff, are they bending those minor and major thirds, or are they sliding? It sounds like they're bending those notes.
Like the one at the end of the phrase, like damp, 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 damp.
No, like that like ba.
Oh yeah, it does sound like they're sliding. Yeah.
Are you thinking of Electric Red?
I don't know.
No, it's like right before they get into the verse. So I guess right after that, like cool rhythm. Yeah.
It sounds like they're bending those notes and just like minor and major third bends. I think they're a little easier to do. I think they're a little more accomplishable on like the low string, because like that pitch. Even though Although with Frederick Thorndahl, I think he has like a 30-inch scale guitar, which is just like absurd. That's
to
like a
accommodate that
bass.
low E probably.
Well, that one
Yeah.
it was originally on their 7 strings when they originally
Oh, was
recorded
it?
it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because that might have been
I had no
before they
idea.
made the move to 8-string. They made the move to 8-string where? Was it a Catch
That's
33?
that's why they made the remaster, because it was
Oh.
because like it was like they had the 8 strings made after Nothing was released, and
Wait,
then
so
they
they
wanted to go back.
retracked all that? They didn't just take the actual like raw
No, they
tracks.
retract the guitar parts.
Wow,
Wow.
hell yeah, dude.
Right on.
That's
Hell
why
yeah.
that's why it's just got that extra layer of beef.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that Nothing remaster is really, really sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the cover too. I like the blue cover.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
In the negative,
That's
great.
Looks really cool. All right, number 4, Jerome.
4, I went with Demiurge.
Nice.
It's I don't know. It's another one that just crushes every time, and when it shows up in a live set, when I hear it, I light up, and I sing along with it. And it's yeah, and again, going back to I Am Colossus, for me, like I associate it with my leg workouts, because like the way it was paced, I would start off, and then like by the time I would get to Demiurge, it's like towards the end of everything. So it's like, all right, yeah, we're giving it all right now. Oh yeah, all the lyrics.
Oh yeah.
God.
It's boundary
I'm trying
pushing
to think of-
music, literally and figuratively.
I love the guitar tone on that album too. Like even just the production, that album always sounded the most different to me in terms of the production. Something about it. I don't know. Do you guys ever feel that way?
When it got to like between Call Us and Violent Sleep, it got kind of similar. And like Obzen right before it was still a little similar. But then you go even further back and it's just like relative to their earlier stuff, it's just completely different.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a welcome change because that low 8, oh my god, that low E. Are they actually tuned to F sharp? Are they tuned like standard 8-string?
They get the low E sometimes.
That's what I figured.
I think they change it.
But like, man, they've nailed that 8-string tone for like any metal band that wants to do 8-string guitar music.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how many 8-strings got sold just because people wanted to learn their music. I mean, that's why I bought mine. So I'm willing to bet there's tons of people.
Oh yeah,
they've been responsible for.
Same with Animals as Leaders. Like I'm sure Toast Nabasi was responsible for the selling of millions of 8-string guitars.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think he's why I got into it. He's why I didn't want to at first too, which is funny.
That's why I wanted to quit music as a whole.
Yeah,
It's part
that's
of the
neither
process.
here nor there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all part of the journey.
Exactly.
Oh man. All right, Jerome. Oh wait, Jerome just went, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bryan.
All right, so it's mine. My number 4 is Clockworks. I absolutely freaking love this song with every single bit of myself. Like just hearing the 4 on the hi-hat right before they go in, I'm already hyped as all hell. Like it's a perfect workout track if you're looking for like gym tracks to like work out to. It's a good tempo, so you don't. Dun, 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 dun. It's also after. So all right, Call Us was a relatively slow album compared to the rest of their discography. So having heard Call Us and waiting on the Violent Sleep, and I remember getting the Violent Sleep when we were mid-tour. I didn't know what to expect out of the next Meshuggah release. I was expecting something slow again, and slow's not bad. Slow's never bad. But for Meshuggah, I like their sort of mid-tempo to high-tempo kind of things. So I was really hoping that this album came out with something like that. And that being the first thing I heard out of new Meshuggah, I was set. I was absolutely set. I was like, this album is going to be amazing. And it was. Like Clockwork, seeing the playthrough, just hearing it for the first time in the car, and just that blasting riff. Oh, my Lord. So good. It was everything I wanted to hear out of Meshuggah, out of their latest release, so I was super happy.
Yeah.
Nice.
4?
Are we final 3 now? This is it.
Final
God.
3.
Top 3. Holy shit.
Top
All right, here's where it gets interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah.
All right, my number 3 is Monstrosity. That there's that like kind of really shimmery, clean guitar part in the middle of that song. It almost sounds like they like pressed record and like looped that section, and there was just layer and layer of clean guitar being added to that until it's just like this wash of this really like sparkly clean guitar stuff. And it's so beautiful. It's like, you know, the rest of the song is so dark, and there's like these really interesting chords happening, and then you like it's like you lift above the clouds for a moment in that part, and you like see all the stars. It's just such a, I don't know, I just love that moment, that feeling that they captured there. So good. And then I had a couple more notes about it. Oh, and also, like, I love the key change between the intro and like the drop for like the verse of that song. It's just they establish the whole first part in A, and then they drop it down to F during the next part, and it's just like such a powerful shift that really brings you deep into it. But yeah, Monstrosity.
There's some bangers on that album.
Oh, yeah.
That's such a great image of bringing, like, you feel like you're going up to the stars. And for me, it's just even funnier with your shirt, because now I'm picturing it up.
Cosmic Rig.
Wait, are you wearing a Chaosphere shirt?
What's up?
Jerome, are you wearing a Chaosphere shirt?
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice. Hell yeah. Awesome.
You know, it's funny that you brought up the sort of ascending into the clouds, because there's so I have the silliest reason for not being able to take that song seriously, and it's just the title. It's just the spelling of the title. It's just, there's an NES game called Dino City, and every time I see that track, I think of that game. And it was such a silly game, so I'm like, it's such a silly track. But, you know, looking aside from the title, it is that sort of, you do get that sort of like ascension feeling, like a soaring over the clouds feeling. Like, I put that together in my mind now. So I think I'm going to listen to that track with a different lens now with that. It's
Not Dino City.
yeah, not Dino City, Monsters.
Guilt by association.
Yeah.
Welcome all to
Oh yeah, the vocals on it. The vocals are on it though. Like, Jan Kidman's vocals throughout that entire album are just like on it.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah. What was he? I mean, how long has he been with them for? Has he been there since '91?
He's one of the original members.
That's so crazy that the longevity of his voice.
Yeah, no shit.
Mind blowing. Because it doesn't seem like a lot of metal singers have a lot of longevity past like maybe their mid 40s, and they've got to be in, I would say, late to early 50s, right?
Yeah. I suppose it's because he's been doing it right all along. Like, a lot of times the reason behind the lack of longevity is just because people start doing it wrong when they start.
Right.
So if maybe he sought out vocal lessons in the beginning and just made sure that he was using proper technique throughout, then maybe that's why his voice has been able to.
I would say,
like, yeah.
When I listen to Chaosphere, I feel like he definitely was not using his voice right.
He might not have been. He might not. I hear it on Destroy Erase sometimes, where he's just like really rasping it up in here. And I'm like, how do you not have calluses in here yet?
Because it's changed so much over the years. I feel like he's just figured out a way to make it work.
Yeah.
I mean, to do like hour sets nightly in such a like really angry, sort of like gritty tone, it's just got to figure out something.
Crazy. And then if people want to talk to you afterwards,
yeah,
you're probably just like, give me a break.
It's funny because I remember someone telling me a story of Jacob Collier refusing to do an interview because he didn't want his voice to be too tired for his show. And it just made me think, like, Jans Kidman is still doing interviews after a show. That's not bashing Jacob. I love Jacob Collier to death. And, you know, with the amount of vocal things he does on a nightly basis, I don't blame him for denying the interview. But you put Jans Kidman in context, and it's like the guy's talking to you, doing everything, signing stuff, and it's just like still going on stage, pretty much destroying his throat nightly.
Imagine if Thomas said that. It's like oh,
Man.
sorry, you gotta wheelchair me everywhere because I'm playing Bleed tonight.
Because
I
I'm
can't use
playing
my
Bleed
legs.
tonight.
Sorry.
Because I'm playing Bleed and the Demon of Surveillance.
Yeah,
Back to back.
like imagine if he was like in a wheelchair, like in his 70s, and he still played, and they actually did wheel him out, and he would still just destroy, like, Bleed like every time.
My God. Yeah, Meshuggah.
Honestly, that might happen. With just how crazy they are, like I wouldn't be surprised if that ended up happening.
Guy got like prize feet. He's probably just like soaking them after every show.
It would be like James Brown, right? Like he would come out and it's like they're taking him off stage because it's like, oh, he's finished, but then he comes back out again.
They do that on their live shows all the time. It's like they play this like one last song, and it's like, we know you're gonna do an encore. Just come out and do it. Everybody's yelling for it. It's like, you haven't played this track yet. Like,
yeah, everyone knows.
But still, you just gotta. I think the only person that like kind of stopped that was Devin Townsend. I think Devin Townsend like doesn't do encores because he's just like I'm gonna do it anyway, so I'm just gonna make the set long.
Yeah, just go up before the last track and say this is gonna be the encore, but I'm just not gonna come back out.
Yeah,
I feel like I might have seen like the first time he did that. He played at the Webster Underground. Like this was before. I think he had just put out Addicted.
Okay, so that makes more sense.
So he hadn't really blown up yet, but the Webster Underground, tiny place. You can't like go backstage there. So he was just like, "How about you all pretend I went backstage and came back out because I don't feel like walking through you all."
Is that place still around?
I think so.
At this point, who knows, right?
When I was in high school, like people would say like the two big places to play are the Webster Underground and Toad's Place. Those were like always in very high regard. And then I remember going to the Webster to see Yngwie Malmsteen, and like I thought the sound was like horrific, and it was in like a really dangerous area. It's just like nothing about it like seemed like the goal for a Connecticut musician. I don't know. No offense if you like that place, but I don't know.
I've heard from people who have played at both places that it's just like not a good experience.
What, Toads and the Webster?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't even imagine what it'll be like post-COVID. We shall see. But let's stick to positive stuff. Meshuggah songs about death. My number 3 is Electric Red. And honestly, I don't know why I like this song so much. It kind of seems it kind of seems like just like an average song on Obscene, but for some reason I've always gravitated towards this track and that breakdown, you know what I'm talking about? Yep. That's like one of my favorite breakdowns. Like the first time I heard that, I was like, oh my God, this is just it just goes so hard. And that thing we were talking about before where Frederick's like, or maybe it's the other guitar player holding out these kind of like cool sort of like dissonant notes over. Just love that. But that's probably one of my top 3 favorite Meshuggah breakdowns is that one in the middle of Electric Red.
That one extra measuring like just makes it.
I don't know if that's 4. I could never figure out the counting for that one. I couldn't count it in 4.
That one's a bear to try to count through.
Should I write this shit down? Oh no, I wrote it. Okay, there we go. Yeah, Electric Red's in somewhere for me later. But I love that track so much.
Somewhere
in the next.
Somewhere soon.
Somewhere in the next 3. All right, what's your number 3, Jerome?
My number 3, I went with Cadaverous Mastication. Because it's I think I've only recently gotten into the Contradictions Collapse in like maybe the last year or 2. But there was something about this one. I don't know why. It resonated with me so well. And like there's something so earnest about it, and it feels like a kernel of who Meshuggah really is underneath this like giant exoskeleton that just pummels the earth. It's like there's still this song which is sort of just like this down to earth still sort of human in a way. Two of my favorite guitar solos.
Is it the opening track?
No.
A fourth one? It's like one of like the like somewhere in the middle there. Because I think that was they only played one track off of that album live when I saw them, and I think that was it.
Oh, probably. And I'm so jealous. Like, I want to see them play this live. That's like dying wish. Make a wish. I want to see them play this live. Because there's something so beautiful. It's gorgeous.
I think it's
because there's this version on Contradictions, and then like the one from their first EP, and that's on the Rare Tracks album. And again, it's like that slightly slower tempo, which I love that. There's just varying the tempos of these songs. It's like two separate characters that are equally good. Now I've got two to play with. Oh, and another. Oh, I don't know where it is. There's an amazing video of them playing this live from like 90. It's an old one when Yen still has like the long
he still
hair.
has hair.
Yeah.
He still has hair.
Yeah, and so then when right before Friedrich goes into his like more lyrical solo, which is unbelievable. I can't say specifically this is what happens, but this is the way I interpret it. But like it sounds like he goes to start it, but then starts on like the wrong fret or something. Or it's like he starts on the wrong pitch, and so then like the beginning of the solo, he just like goes kind of nuts for the first few notes, and then calms back down into the written solo.
Oh wow!
Huh.
Oh, I gotta check that out.
If I find it, I'll throw it in the chat.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Because like when you hear it, it's just like it starts off, but then it sounds like he just gets really frustrated and kind of takes it out on his strings for like 3 seconds, and then calms back down into what he wrote.
I'm sure he kills it too. I'm sure he just like makes it work so well.
Oh yeah. Meshuggah's built on dissonance anyway, so I'm sure it worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another good band name, built on dissonance.
There's something about
we got 3 so far.
The early Meshuggah, like all the live videos and then the recordings. There's, I don't know, maybe it's like they still seem like kids, and like it's all of these ideas that you can see that they take to fruition in later albums. It's just amazing to listen to now. And it's always so hard when people ask, you know, when you want to introduce someone to Meshuggah, you almost want to say, yeah, go back to that.
The beginning.
If you start there, it's like, oh no, but maybe start here in the middle and then check out that stuff, because then it's crazy to listen back to Contradictions. This is the same band.
Right.
It almost sounds like it sounds so much like, especially Jens's vocals. It sounds so much like James Hetfield.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God, Jens's vocals have come a very, very, very long way.
I couldn't believe when I first heard the first album. Like the first thought I had was like Kill 'Em All, like Metallica era stuff. I was like, in terms of like the production and just the overall vibe of the music. Obviously, it was more technical than Metallica, but I definitely got similar vibes from that era.
Oh man, it would be great to see. I bet Cliff Burton would have been a huge Meshuggah fan.
And listen, he would have fucking loved him. I know it. Dude, it was literally the reason I started playing bass. It's like, yeah. But, oh my God. Yeah, Jens Kidman's voice has come a very long way. He has this amazing quality to his voice where he can strip away any... So, when you have harsh vocals, there's usually like an underlying pitch underneath all the harsh vocal. Jens Kidman is the only vocalist I've heard that has been able to do away with the pitch entirely and just have straight growl. And it works so well. It just works so well. Like on the later records, it's just so good.
Yeah, incredible. All right, Bryan, number 3.
Is it for 3? Yeah. So my number 3 is Shed. Shed
Yes.
is an absolutely incredible track. And what's really cool about this one is as I was listening to it, because there's really cool. Actually, hold on, I got a couple of notes in here. So one thing that's really cool about this is they use a different subdivision for the transition to actually sort of extend upon the same intro riff. So in order to get a bit more mileage out of the actual initial theme, they just have like a slight variation in the middle and just go with it afterwards. And it's phenomenal. In this, I was listening to it and trying to count at the 16ths. And this was one of the times when it actually rewarded me, because it turns out there's actually a rhythmic palindrome in the 16th note pattern, where you have like, it's like a 5-4-5, 5-4-5 in like a unit, in like a closed sort of unit. It's like a like it's just all this really cool sort of rhythmic palindrome repeated as a unit. And then they use that same sort of compositional method earlier where you just put these two polyrhythms over each other that don't work and then just add an extra little measure to sort of make it work. They just add a measure of 8. They just throw in some 8 in there and it just works and flips right back on itself. And it's just so good. And it's another one of those, it's one of the Whisper Yawns. One of the Whisper Yawns tracks. Which is another reason that I absolutely love it. But yeah, no, that track is golden.
Have you seen there's a video of Frederick, he's using some like Pigtronics plugin and he solos over Shed.
Oh really? No, I gotta check that out.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
It's so good.
So good too.
That might be the best one.
He's like one of the only, well not one of the only, I shouldn't say one of the only, but like he's one of the people that's doing the Holdsworth legato right. Like just literally nailing it every single time he goes for it. Like him and Tim Miller are doing that perfectly. Literally perfectly. They got the legato game on lock. And I love it.
Yeah, when I post this video too, if you guys want to post any links to any of these videos you're talking about in the comments section of the videos, totally do that.
Oh yeah.
Check all this stuff out. All right, final 2.
All right, so it's already been talked about a few times, but my number 2 was Dancers from the Discordant System.
Oh yeah.
It's just such a solid track. You know, I don't really know what else to say about it. On top of what's already been said, there's one part. It was at like I time marked it. It was 3:52. They're going through that part, and when they get to the top of it, and you know Thomas Hawk is doing the big groove on the ride or the China cymbal or whatever the whole time, and then when they get to the top of the part and he stops that for a second and just does this little snare thing that follows the hits of the guitar that totally disrupts the entire groove for just a second and then goes right back into it. And it's just like, you know, Meshuggah, because it's like polyrhythm on polyrhythm and like the phrasing is weird and it's just like the whole thing is just like this giant ball that's rolling forward and you can kind of get lost in the hypnotism of it sometimes. And then like you get that little moment where it's just like you roll over a little rock and you feel a bump and you're like, oh, what just happened? And like there's one of those moments in that song that's it's so good.
So I know exactly which moment you're talking about, and you're right. Like in Meshuggah being, especially in that song, it's very groove heavy. So once you have the drums actually follow the accents of the tune, it just brings you back. It forces you back into the main theme of it. Whether you were like mid-roll or not, if you were like on the up or down or whatever, it just grabs you, pulls you back in. And it's
We're
like,
here now.
It's like this is what you're focusing on. Enjoy.
Exactly.
Comes in to ground you.
Yeah. Oh man, it's a good choice.
All right, my number 2 we've already discussed as well, but mine is In Death is Death.
Yeah.
So incredible. We already talked about it, but it's just a 13-minute journey without a boring moment, and just they hit you with some of the hardest grooves possible for just 7 minutes straight, and it's just like it's just a lot. It's a lot to take in, and I love it. They're just hitting you with so much stuff, and it just keeps coming, and then you get that nice little spacey like second half that brings it down, and just by that track to me makes the entire Catch 33 album. I think if that track wasn't on there, well, it'd be a lot different because then it would just be a bunch of short songs. I guess that's kind of you know feel like that's kind of like the centerpiece of the whole album.
It was funny to me that they didn't decide to separate that, just because they made, or I guess it seems that they made Catch 33 as one entire unit, as opposed to making it in just like smaller sections, and then just sort of like deciding whether to chop it up or like where to chop it up at the end once it's already done. So I was almost surprised they didn't chop up the harsher section of In Death Is Death and then the lighter section into two different songs. But I'm glad they didn't, just because it lends that needed contrast. Because that midsection in Death Is Death hits you with one of the hardest Meshuggah grooves ever written. That like literally one of the hardest Meshuggah grooves ever written. And they just throw that in there. It's not even like fully expound. I mean, it's fully expounded upon within the context of the song, but they had the potential to get a lot more mileage out of that, but chose to sort of like restrain it and bring it in a little bit, and then give you that sort of middle chordal, melodic, really contrasty section, and then bring it back at the end. Just, oh God, that track is so good.
That's a great point, because if they did cut it up into individual tracks, it would have fit fine with the way the album had been flowing up until that point. This is definitely like the track that comes in that, to me, sort of shifts the gears of the album a little bit, you know?
Oh yeah, because prior, the tracks before this are really like barely grazing the 3-minute mark.
Right.
Like the first 3 tracks of the album are really like minute, 2-minute, 3-minute little affairs, and then you have this one like 13-minute thing, and then like toward the end of the entire thing. It's great.
Yeah. So good. All right, Jerome, number 2.
My number 2, on Catch 33 as well, I went with Entrapment, because one, probably the most brilliant Thorndahl solo. But then even more brilliant is the riff underneath it and before it, which, I mean, talk about like pound dramatic. When I actually like wrote it out and then just saw how like these lines, they descend and then it's just turned backwards and then repeated. Like, it's so simple and brilliant. And and then the whole lead in right into Mind's Mirrors.
Oh my God.
And then for me, when I listen to this track, I feel like I'm like caught in a storm on the ocean where like the waves keep pulling me under before I can breathe. Like either that or I'm just like burning alive in a house. And it's just like, this is the greatest song.
It's funny, like, having heard and having continued to hear Catch 33 as an entire unit, it's almost tough to separate one specific song out of the entire experience. Just because it's like, it lends itself to being something like where it's like this cumulative effort and this cumulative thing, as opposed to just like a collection of songs.
Yeah.
But like now you referenced that it was before Mind's Mirror, and that put it into context for me, and I was like, okay, that's where it is. And I know which part you're talking about. It's just so nuts.
It's cool that you just mentioned that, because I was having this problem picking some songs, because like as far as an entire song cohesively, like there are so many Meshuggah moments for me, and it's like, oh, like this moment stands greater than the song itself, where this other song as a whole. So it worked in my favor that Catch 33, I could isolate like this moment that's like one Meshuggah moment.
Oh yeah,
love those moments.
Meshuggah moments.
Yeah, hashtag Meshuggah moments, or no, hashtag just Meshuggah things. So if we're going into my number 2, this was actually really, really, really difficult, just getting between 2 and 1. My number 2 is gonna be Stenga, and that groove. Oh my God! I wish I could say that I found something cool nested within the 16th notes of it, but like just building the pattern off of the intro groove and like just reading it, it's still really cool. Oh, it's so good, so freaking good. And then what's even cooler about it is you have the vocals following the accents of that odd rhythm. So it's just hammered home even more. It's not like you have these, like sometimes Janz will have these moments where he sort of chooses to take these sort of overarching patterns in his vocal patterns, where it's not necessarily to the 16th, but maybe to the quarter, maybe to the half, or something like that. This one is to the accent. And it just drives home that sense of just like almost being lost, or just like being neck deep in that rhythm and not having anything to latch onto, because the drums are following the accents, the guitars are on the accents, the bass is on the accents, and now the vocals are too. So the only thing you have to go on are those odd accents, and you're just like, where the hell are we?
That's such a good
let me
point.
see. I wrote down a couple things for this one. Oh yeah. So in my notes it says verbatim, Thorndal / Holdsworth legato, baby. Because it's driven home here. Like his use of that Holdsworthian legato is just so on point. Yeah. And then the way they take the initial rhythm and sort of vary it throughout the song is also a nice use of thematic development. That's like not unique to Meshuggah, but the way they use their themes and develop them to sort of get a little bit more mileage out of them. It's great. It's genius. Oh, they're just such a good band.
They really are.
The best.
Literally.
The best. The pioneers of an entire movement of music.
Yeah, literally an entire subgenre of metal, man. This is huge. Oh my god, we're at the number one.
Number one, yeah. Are we ready?
Number one.
E1.
All right. My number one is Do Not Look Down. That, I mean, you know, talk about Meshuggah moments. Just when the drums first come in on that song, you're like, you think you're in one place, and then you are not there at all. And oh my god, the drums just throw you for such a loop when they come in. And yeah, and then it just like gets crazier from there. It's such a good song. I remember, I think I was like hanging out with Mike one night, and he first showed me this song, and we were both just like rewinding it over and over again, trying to like figure out what happened at the beginning. But yeah, that's my number one.
There's a lot of really
for
good for
today.
Yeah, for today, yeah, because it changes regularly. It changes almost nightly. Like every time I listen to it changes. But the tom work in that song is nuts.
Yeah,
like, it's so freaking good, and I'm honestly surprised it didn't make my list. Because if I was choosing something off of Kolo specifically, it would have been between Marrow, Do Not Look Down, I Am Colossus.
Mm-hmm.
Those are like the three standout tracks for me on that album.
Mm.
But like Do Not Look Down is, oh god. I first heard that with Harold, and like I just looked at him with like this freaking out face. He looked at me with the same face. It was really just like, it's freaking Meshuggah. Like it's so good, yeah.
Love it.
Oh man.
All right, my number one. I don't know how to say this. You said it earlier, Jerome. Concatenation. Is that how you say it?
I think so. Concatenation.
Concatenation.
Cat.
Just such an intense song, such a perfect opener to Chaos Sphere. And the experience that I had with this song was, I remember I was running some errands and I got into my car and I had never heard this album before. And I was like, I'm going to put this album on and see what it's like. And like, I was about to get ready to start driving. Like I put the song on and just like that opening riff just hit me so hard. I like couldn't drive. I had to just like sit there and just like compose myself for a little bit, specifically when the singing comes in. Cause that background, the drum groove and the guitar groove over the singing, like it's like, it's just so intense. And it's like for an opening track to an album, like that is just like the perfect way of saying like, yeah, don't fuck with us. Like I heard that album and I was like, oh, you cannot fuck with these guys. Like they're just like, these guys are scary. Like don't mess with them. You know?
That is the scariest album.
Yeah.
You know, talk about finding it. I remember downloading this on LimeWire in high school when I heard about the band.
Whoa.
And I was like, oh, Meshuggah, I'll check them out. And then like I remember it was Chaos Sphere. It's like, whoa. No. And then I didn't touch it until years later. And now it's like my favorite Meshuggah album.
Mm.
Yeah, I was scared of
What
that
year-
for
what
years,
year-
man.
What year did you graduate high school? Because I had LimeWire as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, I graduated in 2010.
Oh, okay. I was '09, so yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, LimeWire and Grokster and Napster.
Napster, man.
Yeah, so weird
Jesus Christ.
how
I
far
was
we've
so
come.
far from metal at the time that those softwares were around. I was still listening to the Bee Gees.
Yeah, I was trying to download like Who Let the Dogs Out.
Yeah. The
New Aaron
classics,
Carter
honestly.
song.
Yeah.
All right, Jerome, let's hear it. Number one.
I had to do it. Bleed. It's
Oh, no way.
because it really breaks my heart that it's been memed to hell online, and that's just like everyone. It's like oh, Meshuggah, bleed. Like yeah, okay, they have so many other great songs, but I know for me, as far as my top 10 list, it's got to be Bleed because it's the very first song I ever heard by Meshuggah, and it was in high school, and I still remember the exact moment I heard it. I was playing some like video games with my friends, and I just had like the metal station on, and then the song started. What is that? Oh, Meshuggah. Yeah, I've heard this name before. All right, cool. I can dig this. And I remember the whole thing. I was just so distracted. This is really crazy. And then it gets to that middle spacey section, and that's when I just checked out everything I was doing. What the hell is this?
Yeah.
This is the coolest sound I've ever heard in my life. And then it slams back in, and then you've got this Friedrich playing a solo, which is a solo that isn't played any other way in a metal song that I'd ever heard to that point. So then again, it's just like every moment of the song was just blowing my mind. It's already blown to smithereens, and then each of those little things is just getting blown to even bigger bits. Oh my God, this band is incredible. And then, of course, let me go check out their other stuff. Chaos Fear. No. I'll stick with Bleed. And so for me, I listened to Bleed for years, and I just had a love for it. And then, going to grad school, I took this course on rhythms, and it was about like ostinati, and it changed the way I thought about rhythms and just using it in music and listening to it. And the teacher mentioned one day just something along the lines of, oh yeah, it's, or like in a Meshuggah tune. Whoa, what does he mean by that? And so then I went home and started checking out all these records, and particularly I went back to Nothing, and then Stenga, the way it starts, like, oh my God, this is exactly all of the rhythmic exercises we're doing in this class. Oh, it clicks. And so then it's just been this even bigger blossoming of love for Meshuggah. But Bleed, I always come back to it. I've cried to this song because it's just like tears of just joy, because it's so good, and it just it's the best. And really, it's when I had it at number one, I thought this is like getting a pumpkin spice latte in October. It's like
people get them for a reason, though. You know?
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I said it wasn't my number one.
Nothing
Yeah,
wrong
Bleed
with
is a
that.
fantastic track. It's just literally the internet running with the meme that just makes it any kind of like funny or strange.
The internet has a way of taking the piss out of some things for sure.
And it's just completely random what it decides to take the piss out of whenever it decides to. But no, Bleed independently in its own bubble is such a phenomenal track. Like, because I said Obstin was like my first Meshuggah album. So hearing that and then being able to see a playthrough right after that was just mind blowing. I'd never seen anything like that on drums before. I was like, "Holy, what's going on right now?" It's just such a good experience.
So good.
Oh,
and that guitar solo in particular, I remember when I was at the Manhattan School of Music, my teacher Mark Gould, he was just asking me what kind of stuff I listened to, and I was working on this contemporary trumpet solo by Giacinto Scelsi. It's this unaccompanied trumpet work, and it has this improvisatory nature with microtonal elements. And in my mind, I always compared it to the solo in Bleed. And so then he was asking me like, "Oh, what are you thinking about during this?" And I said, "Meshuggah." And he's, what the hell? What are you talking about? And so then I showed him this, and he kind of, then he took this interest, like, "Oh yeah, I didn't know you're into metal. This is like your thing on trumpet. You should play metal on the trumpet." And so again, like another element of Bleed close to my heart. It's like putting me closer to the things I want to do with my life.
Mm. That guy sounds awesome, by the way. I remember you and Rob talking about that guy, Gould. He sounds like the man.
Oh, he's brilliant. He's like if Larry David was a famous trumpet player. Like that. Like he's got that type of humor.
I could picture Larry David like convincing a kid to play metal on a trumpet.
On a trumpet.
You know?
Yeah.
That sounds like a very Larry David thing.
That should be the next Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
There's a new season coming out in January.
Oh, nice.
I hope he
Yeah.
shreds on trumpet.
Yeah,
Like
well,
arpeggios
hopefully we'll
from
get
Bella.
that, and we'll get either Soul Nigel or Meshuggah. So that's 3 things right there.
Oh my god.
Things to look forward
2021,
to.
looking up.
God.
All right, Bryan, last one.
My number
us off.
one is going to, and like I said, this was a really tough decision between number 2 and number 1. My number 1 is going to be Electric Red.
Oh, I forgot that you said that earlier.
The ultimate foreshadowing earlier to my number 1. I absolutely love this song, and it's literally the pattern. I timestamped it too. It's at 2:56. It's the way it rotates, like I did another like Morse code 16th note kind of thing where it's just all freaking numbers on the top and you just see it, and trying to figure it out and trying to figure out how it loops back into itself was just such a mind blowing but also enlightening task to do, because it's shedding light on a compositional method of theirs that garners this incredible disjointed sound while still being part of one cohesive thing. Because it's just literally taking these rhythms, moving them over by beats, and just having them over like a stagnant thing. So like this is like that weird rhythm is just all over 6 bars of 4. But because of that subdivision, and because that subdivision keeps moving throughout the entirety of the 6 bars of 4, you never get a grounded sense. You're just always in the air. You don't have anything to land on, but you know you're grooving harder than all hell. And it's just such a good track.
That's a great way to put it. Nowhere to land, but you're just
There's nowhere to land, because you don't get that satisfied landing until they repeat the polyrhythm again.
Are you talking about the parts?
Yep.
Yeah,
You don't get that sense of landing until you hear that big cymbal hit to bring
when
you
it gets
back into
heavy.
the point.
When it gets heavier.
Oh no, you get it a little bit before that, but it's really only when the cymbal actually brings you back into what the one of the drums is doing. Because the one of what the guitar is doing and the one of what the drums are doing is completely different. So once you get that one in the drums, you're like, all right, I can kind of feel this out. But then once it changes sections, then you're like, all right, now I have a real place to land and hit the floor, hopefully running. But realistically, when you're listening to Meshuggah, you're tumbling. It's like you're running, you're trying to jump, you're making this jump, and then you hit the ground and you're just tumbling for the rest of the song.
With your head nodding the whole time.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. And like anytime I'm confused by a rhythmic section, I fucking love it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is that? What is that? What is that? I'm immediately
if you have like a curious mind, I mean, this band will just give you never-ending stuff to just investigate and try to figure out, and that's one of the things that I love so much about them.
Yeah, it's a puzzle band.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, a puzzle band.
Oh,
we did it. That's crazy. We got through it.
Word.
So the 2 songs that were the most picked were Stifled had 3 and Dancers to a Discordant System had 3.
I'm surprised Stenga didn't have more.
Yeah, that was 2.
Yeah, Stenga was in my honorable mentions. I have 4.
It's just so tough to pick these into like 10 different ones. Yeah, this was so much fun.
This was a lot of fun.
Diving back into Meshuggah's music was.
I love how nerdy it got too. I always prefer more nerdy rather than less. You know.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to the song Neurotica.
Yes. Oh, me too. That was on like one of my honorable mentions because it's so good.
It's so good. It makes me laugh though, just because like just the opening thing where they're going 5-1 is just way too consonant for them.
There's actually someone made a pop cover of that.
Really?
It sounds incredible.
Oh wow!
I wish I'm gonna send this to you guys.
Yeah, please do.
I'm so pissed this guy didn't make more, because I would pay so much money to hear an entire Meshuggah album done in this guy's style, because it's the groove, the lyric, but then it's just like this cool kind of electronic pop.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Leave a link in the comments when I post this. People need to see that. There's one song. There's one song on either Destroy, Erase, Improve or Contradictions Collapse where there's like a like dies down and there's like this clean guitar part, and they do like there's like a little like 5-1 like resolution, and Frederick plays like a little melody like in a major scale. It's like the most you know what I'm talking about? What song is that? That one part always cracks me up, and I can never remember which song it is.
One
he
of
goes
the
like,
two.
he does like this little like major riff.
Yeah.
I'll find it.
Yeah, I know the one because it's apparently some Swedish
with, like,
child's melody.
It starts with like these dark kind of like Phrygian like chords or something with like a minor second in it, like more of a dark metal kind of chord, and then it just goes into like this 5-1 resolution or something like that. I'll find it.
It might be Neurotica.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it is.
Oh no, you're talking about a live video when he plays like a little melody.
No. It's a studio thing. It's either on Contradictions Collapse or Destroy, Erase, Improve. I'll find it. We'll get back on that one.
The idea of a 5-1 in any Meshuggah song.
Oh, it's so funny.
I know, right?
If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I can't wait to find it and send it to you. It's gonna
please do. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's such a little. It's like the tiniest little moment too. Like the whole rest of the song is like ridiculous, and then it's like this little like 3-second part that somehow just snuck into the song. It's just like, where did that come from? But I like it. I like that it's there to talk about and joke about.
Yeah.
Well, that was awesome. Thank you so much, guys. That's a lot of fun. And
thanks for having us.
I plan on doing more of these. So if you ever want to, I'd be gladly have any of you guys back on to do another artist if you want, or just to hang and just talk about music, discuss what we've been listening to and stuff.
Hell yeah! Thank you for having me. This was,
of course,
the experience.
Yeah. Good notes from everybody too. Very, very good insight. So I learned a lot. So
likewise, I'm gonna definitely like rewatch this and go and find some of the things that you all are talking about in the song.
Yeah, no, for sure. I already wrote down that Coronal.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah, I'll check. Yeah, man, thanks so much.
Cool. Awesome.
Cool.
All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody. And thanks again for doing this, guys. I had a lot of fun. Really appreciate it. And hopefully we can do it again soon.
Word.
All
Good
right.
to see everyone's happy, safe, and healthy, which is great.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right. I'll see you guys soon. Have a good night.
Later, y'all.
Bye-bye.
All right. Later.
Peace out.